Ever wondered where your veggies come from? We take pride in supporting our local farmers, and one of them is Malok, who's a friend of ours who's been supplying us with veggies for years from his farm down in Victoria. His story is just as fascinating as the 550 acres that he has under management.
Okay, great. We're down here at Ali Farms today with Malok. Malok, how long have you and your family been farming?
Originally, Dad, when he first migrated from back home, Albania, was given a role at a flower growing farm, and then around about sort of 2009 decided to sort of diversify and get into the market gardening side of things, and started growing some of your conventional bunchline veggies in around about sort of 2009, 2010. We've sort of progressed quite well in terms of the operation, and initially started off with 20 acres down at North Road, and then progressed down into sort of this Lang Lang Caldermead region. One of the biggest sort of main reasons was in terms of agricultural land. It was the most affordable sort of area that we could sort of progress and expand the business. Yeah.
And you can obviously see in the background there's a whole bunch of different things growing. What are the kind of key lines that you guys grow?
Your spring onions, a lot of kale, a lot of your brassica veggies, Chinese broccoli, a lot of your Asian veg, pak choy, daikon radishes. It is quite a wide range that we do grow.
We've been working with Malok for a while now. How long is it again?
Yeah, it has been, I'd probably say a couple of years now. It's been a great relationship that we've sort of progressed and built over the years with the boys. We're really sort of happy we sort of started this relationship. We appreciate the support.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see out on farm when you're trying to grow?
Mother Nature, first and foremost.
Formidable
yes,
power.
Formidable power, yeah. So middle of summer, the biggest sort of headaches that we face is your extreme sort of heat waves that come through. The heat in general, certain products can sustain. It's not a problem. But when you do have that 38-degree day with 80-kilometre northerlies coming through, it does sort of knock about a lot of especially the leafy veg like the spinach and the coriander and a lot of the herb lines. You mentioned
recently there was a hailstorm through and it took out part of the farm, but like not the other part of the farm.
Yes, it's one of those one of those things where you think that if one property's been hit, hopefully the other one hasn't been hit. But sometimes we'll get a lot of them go right through. But then you had scenarios where on this site in itself, we might have half of it. The band literally just goes halfway through the property, damages a lot of the products, and especially certain products like your kale and your Tuscan kales, and that can sort of absorb it. You won't see the penetration of, say, hail hit the leaf and really sort of see it visibly. But your spring onions, as soon as a hailstorm comes right through it, you'll get those white blemishes and white marks on the spring onions, and then the consumer thinks, oh, is there a disease issue or is there a problem with it? So then all of a sudden, you got the supermarkets rejecting that product as well.
Obviously, we try and jump in there, and we're always happy to take a bit of hail damaged product. It still tastes the same, right? Yeah. A question that we get a lot is around, I guess, charities and I guess donating produce, and we support Oz Harvest and we donate food to them when we can. When you have food that you can't sell out on the farm, how do you deal with it? Do you donate it, or do you work with a charity?
This idea is always floating back and forth between my father and mum, and trying to find ways to obviously minimise waste, and obviously if there was an avenue where we could pull out the stock out of the ground and give it to charities, we would. But in terms of the running cost of the business, there's always a cost of picking the product and transporting the product. It's one thing being a market gardener, and it's another thing being a business owner and an operator. So ideally, I'd love to be able to leave blocks, for example, vacant for the public to come in and just pick their own product. But unfortunately, in today's world, it sort of doesn't work that way. And majority of the time, if the sales are not there, we sort of plough it back into the ground, and it does majority of the time give some sort of nutrients back to the ground too by ploughing it in. So
not all lost, but I guess definitely a lower utility than its potential, right, of being good for human consumption. But
most
definitely some structural constraints there.
For sure.
People want to come out to the farm and they want to, like, you know, can we buy directly from the farm? Like, can you just run me through, like, I guess how that's challenging as a farmer to be able to sell direct to consumers?
So as a selling point, there's been quite a lot of market gardeners in the past who have sort of gone down that path and set up little stores and obviously and had a sales point direct on the farm. But in our sort of scale of operations, when you're picking bulk and pallet loads, it's it's very hard to justify. So you'd have to bring in a totally new aspect and dynamic and more staff and we've had scenarios where people are wanting to come and pick up direct to the farm, but what happens is we'll have to rearrange a full cool room and bring out 40-50 pallets of stock in order to get sometimes to the back of the cool room and get that one specific line. So if you're a market gardener growing 4 or 5 lines, it'd probably be a little bit easier, but Arley Farms are pretty much sort of doing 40 plus lines. It makes it quite hard.
Yeah, not really an option. What are sort of the implications and impact of food waste that you sort of see from your perspective?
First and foremost is sort of training the consumer to obviously, you know, eat with their taste buds and not their eyes. So I think that will certainly help. If people weren't as sort of judgmental on the product in itself, and I think bringing this sort of dynamic to the swing of things and educating the people would certainly help to minimise in terms of waste. I think the consumers need to have a little bit more sort of knowledge being given back to them. It's not all grown out in sort of factories. It's soil, it's crop rotation. There's a lot involved.
It's the constant battle. I think it's the complexity of farming and growing is you know, hopefully we can shed a bit of a light on that.
We try as market gardeners to do the right thing in terms of getting a perfect product, but unfortunately with Mother Nature, as you know, we will get a 300 mil of rain come through over a 24-hour period, and then all of a sudden you've got not a perfect product. But for us, we certainly try to do sort of quality control, volume control, and to minimise the waste aspect, we always, especially like I was saying before, in the summer periods when things are growing twice as quick, we obviously consolidate and don't grow as much of a volume and sort of try to push the sales. So we grow to the order rather than for a future order sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess trying to plan forward and just grow the right amount.
Zucchini, for example, over a 24-hour period, go from 10 centimeters in length to 15, 20, and when it's at 20, for example, the supermarkets are constantly going to reject certain stock. Whereas, working with farmers pick, it doesn't have to be perfect as long as the nutrients sort of levels are in the product and it looks okay. Then take it to farmers pick.
Farmers like Malok have done everything they can to reduce food waste out on their farm, from planting crops in advance to anticipating the weather. But ultimately, we need to do our part as consumers, and it can be as simple as embracing wonky produce, ones that come in different sizes or have minor scarring or are just a little bit unique in the way they're shaped. That is why we, Josh and Josh, started Farmers Pick, and while we'll continue to encourage people to embrace perfectly imperfect produce and support Aussie farmers like Malok.